Thank you very much, Madam Chairwoman. Thank you for having this very important hearing. I want to thank the witness for being here. I want to make sure that you understand that we're not shooting the messenger, but you are the messenger, okay? So with that caveat in mind, I obviously the GSA's fiscal year program requests approval for 7 alteration and modernization projects, 3 design projects, 5 construction and acquisition projects, and 5 leases. Now, Madam Chairwoman, I know this is not going to surprise you. I'm frankly just shocked. And again, you and I tend to speak with one voice on a lot of these issues. I'm frankly just shocked by the tremendous, I can't say this diplomatically, I guess, waste of taxpayer dollars and the gross mismanagement of the federal building fund that this list of projects represents. This subcommittee, under the leadership of our chairwoman, has had numerous hearings, hearing after hearing, about how courthouses have been overbuilt and the cost of leasing as opposed to ownership that is bankrupting the federal building fund. And I have to again take this opportunity to once again comment and commend our chairwoman for her leadership on those issues, and she has not been shy about these issues. Now, yet, so we know that that is bankrupting the federal building fund, and yet the administration proposes $250 million to renovate a half-empty courthouse and $500 million to lease an agency headquarters. Sometimes, Madam Chairwoman, I think that you and I maybe just are speaking in a vacuum. Is nobody there listening? I'm very concerned about some of these projects, and I simply don't understand how GSA can realistically expect for Congress to approve them. And gosh, I hope Congress doesn't approve them. Now, for example, GSA proposed spending, I'm going to use one example, but it could have been Miami, it could have been a number of different places, but just for an example, GSA proposed spending $288 million. I want to repeat that, $288 million to renovate the 600 square foot Prettyman courthouse. Now, you'll recall from our recent hearings that GAO singled out this specific courthouse complex as one of the most overbuilt and over budget in the entire country. Furthermore, in 2000, the courts projected that there would be 49 judges in both the Prettyman building and its annex, but today there are only 33 judges. About 400 people, just 400 people work in that building, which means, I mean, again, it doesn't take rocket science, which means that there's about 1,500 gross square feet of building space for each employee. Now, frankly, many families don't live in smaller areas than that. I think that bears repeating. About 400 people, which means that there are about 1,500 gross square feet of building space for each federal employee in that building. I don't have a word to describe that. I just don't. Because saying that it's immoral and unacceptable, it just doesn't seem strong enough. So now what is even more astonishing is that the renovation of this courthouse is a priority project now on GSA's 5-year capital plan. Did GSA not look at the reports? Did GSA not spend time with us to understand what these, and did GSA not look at these numbers? I mean, it's just, you know, how the administration can justify spending so much money on a half-empty building that will not generate any extra revenue for the federal building fund that's, again, almost going bankrupt. Is inconceivable. So while GSA wants to pour even more money into an overbuilt courthouse, GSA is proposing a new 427,000 square foot lease for the Federal Trade Commission headquarters, further damaging the bankruptcy issue that I already mentioned, and going against everything that we've been talking about, and particularly this chairwoman has been fighting for and working on, and that, frankly, the taxpayers demand. So in hearing after hearing, members of this committee have repeatedly expressed concern about the overuse of expensive leases to meet federal space needs, again, especially when we're dealing with headquarters space. And, again, we've seen this in study after study. The GAO has warned us about the cost of leasing to meet long-term space needs. But here GSA continues the same practice. But again, GSA now proposes doubling FTC's lease space. Doubling FTC's lease space. I'm surprised the chairwoman hasn't just exploded right now from seeing this, knowing of her concern for the taxpayer on that issue alone. So instead of consolidating the FTC headquarters into one government-owned location, FTC would operate in at least 2 separate locations. That really makes a lot of sense. In addition, this proposal would move some operations out of government-owned space into lease space. You know, again, what planet are we living on here? So on the one hand, GSA is proposing costly leases for FTC headquarters, and on the other hand, it wants to spend nearly $300 million to renovate a building that's frankly mostly empty, that's barely being used. Out of the thousands of buildings in the federal inventory on the space needs identified for the FTC, the fact that the renovation of the Prettyman building would be at the top of GSA's lists, I mean, just raises incredible questions about GSA's management of the federal building fund. Again, what planet are they living on? And I'm not referring to you. I want to make that very clear. But I'm frankly just in shock. I mean, you know, what is it? That it's taxpayers' money, so it doesn't matter? So it really doesn't matter? We can just irresponsibly spend it and blow it and continue to spend it and blow it, even though we have GSA reports and reports after report after report expressing this, showing this, proving this, and yet we get from GSA more of the same and frankly even worse. So I'm very concerned about how GSA is prioritizing its projects and whether some of them make any sense at all, and whether there's any concern for the taxpayer when we look at these proposals. So I want to thank David Foley, Deputy Commissioner. He's a good man. He's a good man, the Deputy Commissioner of the Public Building Service, for being here today, and I look forward to hearing from him on these important issues. But again, and again, with my, and I'll mention it 3 times, that you're a good man, you're a decent man, you work hard, but this proposal from GSA, frankly, is grossly irresponsible. Thank you, Madam Chairwoman.